Alright, I heard you. And I will. But I was already making Skyrim, so we're doing Skyrim. More specifically, we're doing the main questline of Skyrim, which ends when I defeat Alduin the World Eater in Sovngarde. And of course, we will be completing this on the highest difficulty, Legendary. This means, compared to the default Adept difficulty, enemies will take 1/4 the damage from attacks and deal 3 times more damage. I mean, come on. How hard could it be? Now, Skyrim is of course an RPG, a role-playing game, so part of the challenge on top of the difficulty is going to be staying in character, flaws and all. So let's make our character. For the main quest, we're gonna go with a stealth archer, just kidding. It's a two-handed weapon-wielding, heavy armor-wearing orc. Playing as an orc is a key aspect of this build, as they get the ability Berserker Rage, which increases my damage dealt by 2 times and decreases my damage received by half, for 1 minute, once a day. If I didn't have this ability, this build would be completely terrible. It's still pretty bad, but it's doable, and I'll prove it. And there we go, our beautiful, bright, blue-eyed orc, Seamus O'Skyrim. Now, Skyrim, of course, begins with Seamus waking up after a long night of partying and finds himself arrested by the Imperial Legion, moments from being beheaded. He doesn't even remember what he did. But fate wouldn't have it today, as the dragon we later come to know as Alduin saves Seamus' life. You'd think Seamus might be thankful, but killing Alduin is basically his whole shtick. Seamus starts running for his life, which, as it turns out, will be a theme in this playthrough. As we escape into the keep, we have to choose between going with Hadvar the Imperial or Ralof the Stormcloak. We of course follow Hadvar because later they let us into their houses and Hadvar's house has better stuff in it. Hadvar cuts our bindings off and says,
"There should be plenty of gear to choose from."
But the only gear here is light armor and a one-handed weapon, which Seamus of course has no interest in. Hadvar suggests we try to reason with the Stormcloaks.
Maybe we can reason with them.
And begins negotiating with them. Seamus doesn't want Hadvar to have to do all the talking though, so he gets a few words in edgewise. We convince the Stormcloak to let us borrow his greatsword, and Seamus is a natural.
That'll teach you to cross me. An old story. See if you can find some potions.
I begin stockpiling potions, which I'm gonna need for a very specific fight later in the game. We can't stand to use any potions before that, so I'll need to be creative to heal during fights until then. This guy gets me pretty good, and I get my first real taste of the legendary difficulty. Luckily, I've got backup. And then I just run through the rest of the keep, and I'm free. On my way to Hadvar's house, I take a quick pit stop at the Guardian Stones to gain the Warrior Stone's power, which increases the rate that my armor and weapon skills will level up. I get to Hadvar's house, and his uncle Alvar...
How do you know him?
I don't think you're doing that right. Says that I can take whatever I want.
Help yourself to whatever you need, within reason.
So I go straight into his basement and start stealing all his armor, and nobody suspects a thing.
Get away from me.
And with Seamus all suited up, we're headed to Whiterun to tell the Jarl about the dragon. In Whiterun, we borrow a helmet from this guy who isn't paying any attention, I guess. Seamus tells the Jarl about the dragon, and he sends me on a fetch quest to find his wizard, who sends me on a fetch quest to find a rock.
Well, when I say fetch, I really mean delve into a dangerous ruin.
When I get to Bleak Falls Barrow, I have to clear out some bandits. I tried to hide from this guy, but it's no use. He's probably seen that trick before. And then he executes me. Classic. I get my revenge and I take his sword and head inside. Classic. After a close battle with the bandit outlaw, I decide it might be better to just wait this one out. I level up and spec into greatswords to give me a 10% chance to crit on every hit. Then I spend way too long trying to kill this giant spider before I realized I just needed a new strategy.
You, over here. It's coming loose. I can feel it.
Arvel gives me the golden claw, and then I run into some Draugr, who I try to lead back into the spider, but that goes about as well as you'd expect it to. I decide my best bet is to just run through to the end, but Seamus isn't really built for speed. Don't worry though, there are many fights that we cannot skip, and the final boss of the dungeon is one of them. He and his tiny little axe don't stand a chance against my impeccable spacing and my power attack timing. And now I can bring Farengar his rock. The Earl tells Seamus that they are now friends, and then he tells him to fight a dragon for him.
There's no time to stand on ceremony, my friend. I need your help again. I want you to go with Irileth and help her fight this dragon.
Quite the friend, if you ask me. Luckily, there are plenty of people at the fight to distract the dragon while I hack away. Seamus absorbs the soul of the dragon and discovers that he is the Dragonborn, whose destiny is to slay Alduin, the World Eater. Seamus must now climb the 7,000 steps to visit High Hrothgar to answer the summons of the Greybeards and learn about his dragon powers. But 7,000 steps sounds like a lot of steps, doesn't it? So, he buys a horse. And so Seamus O'Skyrim and Seamus O'Skyrim's horse set off. And you know what? Forget about the steps altogether. This horse is special. Classic. Once we get to High Hrothgar, Arngry here makes me prove it, and then teaches me Whirlwind Sprint, which is largely useless except for one trick at the very end of the game that actually makes this entire challenge reasonable.
Retrieve the horn of Jürgen Windcaller.
And on to another fetch quest. We ride Seamus O'Skyrim's horse to Ustengrav, and we are challenged to deadly combat by some bandits, but as long as they focus on the horse and not me, it's easy work. Inside Ustengrav, I take off all my loud armor and I go in for a sneak attack. Then I activate my Berserker Rage, and I level up in the middle of the battle. And leveling up actually fills up my health and stamina instantly. It seems I've finally gained the upper hand against the Draugr, as my might inspires fear into the undead. Even the skeletons, who famously collapse in one hit usually, take at least one power attack to destroy. A common strategy in this run for tougher enemies will be to bait them into dungeon traps to lower their health until I can just finish them off. And then we can finally find the Horn of Jürgen. Oh. Okay, off to Riverwood. Some cultists cause a scene when I get to Riverwood, and kill some of the townsfolk before Delphine tells us that she took the horn before we could get there, and then she shows us her super normal secret dungeon. And she can teleport, I guess. So Delphine says she knows where the next dragon is gonna come from. And yep, you guessed it, she tells us she's our friend.
I am not your enemy.
And then she tells us to go kill a dragon.
And you're going to kill that dragon.
Ring a bell? So we both get ready to go.
That's better.
And back at it again. And we better hurry too, no interruptions.
I've been looking for you. Got something I'm supposed to deliver.
Classic. An inheritance? But I don't know anyone that died. That's weird. So anyways, me and Delphine chop up the dragon, and she blames the Thalmor and wants me to break into a party. Doesn't she know that's how this whole mess started? So I go find Malborn because he's gonna help me break into the party, and I give him only the most important things that I'll need. But it won't let me give him my steel armor because it's too heavy, so I guess no armor for this mission. Delphine gives us the party invitation, and Seamus gets dolled up, and we're off to the Thalmor Embassy.
I prefer to arrive early, often the day before the party, so as not to miss out on any of the drinking.
This guy gets it. We tell the hostess the fakest sounding name in all of Tamriel, but she still buys it. And then we finally get a real friend who offers to do me a favor instead of telling me to go fight a dragon for them.
If there's anything I can ever do for you, do not hesitate to call upon me.
So Raslin makes a distraction while I sneak into the back and get all my stuff. Except my steel armor, of course. I throw everything I've got at these 3 guards, and I take their armor for the time being, so I don't have any resources left to fight all the guards in the courtyard. So I run past them, hide in the next building, where a guard confidently and wrongly claims,
You can't hide from me.
Sometimes the jokes just write themselves. We get the information we need, and Malborn leads the way out through a secret cave where he puts in a valiant effort against a troll. Bet you wish you had that steel armor now. So now we know the Thalmor have nothing to do with the dragons, but we need to go to Riften to find Delphine's friend Esbern from back in the day. The Riften guard shakes me down for an entry fee.
It's been a pleasure doing business with you.
But it is Seamus who gets the last laugh. We run into some tough guys under Riften, but they are no match for Berserker Rage.
Guess it's all clear now. Good morning.
Just give up!
We have another run-in with the Thalmor, and then we find Esbern's quaint little house. And boy is he happy to see us.
Go away!
While I'm looting Esbern's house, I actually go over my carry weight limit, but I can't find anything unnecessary in my inventory to drop. Esbern says the secret to defeating Alduin is hidden within Skyhaven Temple, and we're off again. There's a huge fight outside the temple, but luckily we have Esbern and Delphine here to help, and a dragon actually helps clear out all of the Forsworn cultists too. But we team up on the last couple of enemies with only minimal friendly fire, and I'm not going to bother with that dragon, so I go inside. I actually don't know where the answer to this puzzle is, so I just try every single possible combination until the bridge comes down. Then we find Alduin's wall, and Delphine says, and then Esbern gives us a lecture on art history.
Have you ever heard of such a thing? A shout that can knock a dragon out of the sky?
Nope, but I know someone who has.
No, I cannot teach it to you, because I do not know it.
Never mind. Arngir sends me to the leader of the Greybeards, Parthenax, to learn about the legendary shout. So I climb the mountain even higher without the help of my horse, and Parthenax isn't here because I didn't go to the correct checkpoint. There he is. Parthenax explains to us that Alduin was sent forward in time by the ancient people of Skyrim, and we need an Elder Scroll to go back in time and learn the shout from them. So Arngir sends us to the College of Winterhold to learn about Elder Scrolls. Not so fast, Seamus. To cross the bridge, you have to answer my riddle. Professor Gross Shrub sends me to find Septimus Cygnus, an expert on Elder Scrolls in the ice fields, but I of course know a shortcut. So it's just a hop, skip, and a jump? And Septimus finally knows.
Trust Septimus. He knows.
The crazy old man sends us into a maze of dwarven ruins infested with automatons and Falmer goblins. And Jadar.
Never should have come here.
The enemies in this dungeon are extremely powerful, but not more powerful than gravity. And neither is Seamus. But it's not long before you run into the final boss of the dungeon, the Dwarven Centurion. I try to crush it with this gate, but it doesn't seem to hurt it. It did, however, seem to bug its AI so that it won't attack me, and I can just wail on it until it dies. It is then that I find these two fighting each other, and Umana has a very nice armor upgrade for us. I gain access to Blackreach, where I take the long way around to avoid any conflict on the way to the Elder Scroll, and then I Indiana Jones this sweet helmet. And then I grab the Elder Scroll, and it's time to learn a new shout. Reading the Elder Scroll in the Time Wound on Greybeard Mountain lets us see the ancient Nords use the Dragonrend shout on Alduin, and then Alduin shows up in real life. Now this is the fight where we needed all of those health potions we've collected throughout the entire game so far. Now this isn't the end of the game because you can't actually kill Alduin in the mortal plane. That would be too easy. We must defeat him now, nonetheless. For the first half of the fight, Parthenax helps us out, and I pretty much just have to dodge meteors and use Dragonrend on Alduin on cooldown. Once Alduin reaches half HP, Parthenax stops helping, and Alduin is only focused on me. So now the strategy becomes use Berserker Rage, then swing, when I get low, chug health potions, repeat. Man, if I had any hope for the second half, it would have been a lot easier.
The Jarl has appointed me to be your housecarl. It's an honor to serve you.
Okay, well, you could have shown up an hour ago. To truly destroy Alduin, we need to destroy his soul snare in Sovngarde, and we need to capture a dragon to get there. Luckily, the Jarl's castle in Whiterun has a dragon trap built in? Yeah, I don't know. Anyways. The Jarl says no because there's already too much danger with the civil war going on, so we have to host a peace council. It is up to Seamus O'Skyrim, a man who has only known war, to speak peace into the world. Though he's not typically one to use his words effectively, he convinces the most powerful men in Skyrim at war with each other to attend a peace summit in all of 10 minutes.
Yes, fine. I'll come to this Greybeard Council.
Yes.
And then a bunch of people who just weren't invited show up. But we're still going to be able to get our way. And it's actually good that Esbern came, because he teaches us how to summon a dragon.
Ready to do my part.
So, back at the castle, we summon a dragon. Use Dragon Rend, and bait it into the dragon trap. And it actually turns out that Odahviing is a pretty chill guy, and he agrees to fly us to the portal to Sovngarde, because he never liked Alduin anyways. To get to the roof of this dungeon, you need to go through waves of high-level enemies inside. But that just sounds like a whole bunch of work, doesn't it? Alright, now we just have to clear out a couple of Draugr up here. And remember when I said Whirlwind Sprint would be useful exactly one time? Well, here it is. This Dragon Priest is intended to fly over his staff, and pick it up, and then serve as the penultimate boss of Skyrim. But if you can get in front of him quick enough, you can just body block his path, and then get him down to 1 HP. And when he picks up the staff, you can just hit him one more time, and then you can take his sweet mask. And then we enter the portal to Sovngarde. Sin says we can't enter the Hall of Valor until he deems us worthy, so naturally Seamus makes a run for it. But that's not gonna work this time. Luckily, we don't actually have to defeat Sin. Just beat him up a little bit and then he'll let us by. I don't even think he has to guard the bridge, I think he just does it for fun. So we gather up all of our friends from the hallucination and go into the final fight to slay Alduin once and for all. Game plan doesn't change though. Dodge meteors falling from the sky and use Dragon Rend on cooldown. This time though, we have 3 people who don't give up halfway through the fight. Even in his death, I must dodge meteors. So Sin hypes me up, and then sends me back to the mortal realm where a flight of dragons celebrate my accomplishments. And that's it. Skyrim's main quest completed on legendary difficulty using only 2-handed weapons and a lot of screaming. The way I sort of imagine this going is I'll eventually get around to doing each of the major quest lines and doing a different character build for each one, so let me know what you think about that idea. And I promise I'll do Halo 2. It might take a while because, well, if you know you know, but it'll come. In the meantime, leave any other ideas you have in the comments, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you know how.